Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group, a federal judge partially blocked DOGE's access to Treasury's financial systems, and OPM asks agencies to identify career positions in low-performing employees as part of federal workforce reduction efforts. It's Friday, February 7th, 2025. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. Let's dive into the day's top headlines. A federal judge Thursday limited access to a Treasury Department payments system that various Department of Government efficiency surrogates had burrowed into at the behest of Elon Musk. Judge Colleen Kollar-Kotelly of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, in response to a lawsuit from a coalition of labor unions against the Treasury Department and Secretary Scott Bessent, wrote in her ruling that the defendants cannot provide access to any payment record or payment system of records maintained by or within the Bureau of Fiscal Service. Krause and Marko Elez, two DOGE-connected special government employees of the Treasury Department, were granted read-only access to Bureau of Fiscal Service systems, as needed for the performance of their respective duties, the judge ruled. It's worth noting the Wall Street Journal reported Thursday afternoon that Elez had resigned after the paper unearthed apparent links he had to a deleted social media account that made racist posts. In the lawsuit, additional access carve-outs were granted to any Treasury employee, not including special government employees that have a need for the record or system of records in the performance of their duties, as well as any person entitled to access the records under a federal records statute in the Internal Revenue Code. The lawsuit, filed by the Alliance for Retired Americans, the American Federation of Government Employees, and the Service Employees International Union, alleged that Bessent allowed Musk and his DOGE surrogates to access the personal information of millions of individuals who have transacted with the federal government. According to the suit, the personal information includes names, social security numbers, birth dates, birthplaces, home addresses, and telephone numbers, email addresses, and bank account information. In other news, the Office of Personnel Management released multiple memos this week that continue the Trump administration's push to shift agencies away from career employees and toward more political positions across the government. OPM asked agencies in a Wednesday memo to identify all senior executive service positions and make requests to keep those people in career roles if the agency head believes the president's goals and priorities would be better served by keeping the status quo. OPM said the Trump administration received reports that agencies near the end of the Biden administration redesignated SES positions that are traditionally held by non-career employees, labeling them as positions that can only be held by career employees under the titles General or Career Reserved. That comes after another OPM memo released this week pushed to classify Chief Information Officers as general employees. Wednesday's notice states that, quote, positions that in the first Trump administration were seen as appropriately held by non-career appointees or by either career or non-career appointees should retain that status under the current administration. Agencies have 45 days to report the positions identified in a review of all agency SES positions that were either designated as general on the last day of the first Trump administration or were general designated SES positions then filled with political appointments for the majority of the prior administration's tenure. Additionally, in a Thursday memo, OPM gave agencies until March 7th to send a report detailing employee performance metrics that specifically focus on those who have received less than a fully successful performance rating in the past 3 years, with an individual's name, title, pay plan, agency, and duty station included. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, make sure to visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back next week with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.